Well, welcome in everybody to another kick-ass edition of the 19th Hole podcast for golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers, and very, very happy to have you along. We've got a great show today, talking to a gentleman who's a lot of people consider an icon in the golf design business. I certainly do, and if you know me at all, I love talking about course design and shaping courses, and I've had the pleasure of playing with a number of golf course architects. It's great to get into their head, you know, when you're driving along and, you know, why did you do this? Why did you do this? Why is this bunker here? And so on and so forth. It's absolutely fascinating. So I promise you, you're going to have a very interesting show today. Don't forget, check us out on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and give us a like, subscribe if you will, and also yournews.com, online newspaper, international, national news, local news. All you got to do is go to their homepage, click on their menu, scroll down, you'll see the 19th Hole podcast, just clicking on, and there you go. It's a great source for really all of your news. Before we get to our guest, actually, I guess the news in the golf world, actually all around the world, is of course the tragic accident that happened to Tiger Woods. Very, very fortunate that he's still with us. Could have been a heck of a lot worse, even though it was horrible with the shattered ankle and the leg surgeries. Got to have I understand, a couple of more surgeries. Rehab is going to take a long time. There's a lot of speculation as to what caused the accident. I have my own opinion, along with everybody else and their brother, and a lot of speculation whether Tiger is going to be able to return to play competitive golf. I personally don't think so, but he's Tiger Woods, so we're going to see what happens. But I honestly do believe sincerely that it's just a crappy way to end your career, and I think he's pretty much done. So with that aside, let's bring up our guest, a very, very interesting gentleman. I've had the pleasure of talking with Brian Curley before, and let me tell you a little bit about Brian. Brian is a principal in the awesome design firm of Schmidt-Curley, located in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. Brian is a graduate of one of my favorite schools, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, of course, the School of Architecture way back in 1982, which is going to make Brian probably 100 years old or pretty close to that. But anyway, after graduation, Brian became, his career started with the Landmark Golf Company, where he eventually focused entirely on golf course design and construction. Brian worked with his eventual partner, Lee Schmidt, starting in 1988 until Lee left Landmark, I believe, to work with Jack Nicklaus, the Nicklaus Design Company. Brian headed the Landmark Company design office until his buyout in 1997. And Brian, too many to mention, garnered numerous awards and recognitions throughout his career. Just a taste of it: 2011 Golf Digest Course Architects of the Year, voted #1 golf course architects in Asia for 7 straight years. Schmidt-Curley Designs have hosted numerous world-class events that you're probably familiar with, like the World Cup, the Skins Game, which was really one of my favorite, and both PGA and LPGA Tour events. Brian was included in the 2016 Asian Golf's Most Powerful People in Asian Golf, and we're going to talk about that with him. And let's get started. Let's get to it. Brian, thanks so much for taking time out. I know what is a busy schedule of yours, and spending some time with us on the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Dustin.
Let me start off and ask you this. What do you think is the primary motivation for somebody wanting to become a golf course designer, golf course architect? What is it about that attracts people to your profession?
Well, for me, I grew up in Pebble Beach. I grew up right by Spyglass, and I
Okay,
caddied
nice.
Spyglass and Cypress and Pebble. I was the cart boy at Spyglass and blah blah blah. And this is in the '70s. Nobody talked about. It was funny. No one really talked about golf course architecture then, as far as names associated with courses, the way it is now.
Right.
In fact, even at the time, the only real book to go to, there was a book called World Atlas Golf, which I still have my copy from when I was like probably 13. But I I was out playing one time at Spyglass. I'm like 13 years old, and their bulldozers were moving around. They were doing some remodel work, and I thought this is great, and because I loved golf, but I knew I didn't really want to be um, work in the shop, so to speak, because all the pros in the shop complained about their jobs all day. But I loved golf. And there was a little. It was funny because in the grill room there was a little photo like this big, and it said Robert Trent Jones, golf course architect. And I thought, golf course? You get paid to design golf courses? And so I swear, I mean, I was 13. I decided that's what I wanted to
That's
do.
what I
But
want to
there's
do.
really no way to kind of like pave your path. So I looked up the Golf Architect Society. There were like four of them in California at the time. I went and visited Robert Muir Graves up at his ranch up in the Bay Area. My mom had to drive me because I couldn't even drive. I
Right,
was so young.
right.
And and so I just kind of paved my way. But it was really funny. But getting back to that point about names, I went into the pro shop, and the golf pro, Dave, I remember his name. I said, "Hey, I really like that Cypress Point place." That was my world of golf. You got to remember, was Cypress Point, Spyglass, and Pebble.
Not too shabby. Not too shabby.
That's how I knew golf
Yeah,
to be, right?
yeah.
So anyway, so I said I really like that Cypress Point course. Who designed that one? And nobody in the shop
New.
could knew. Nobody could say Alistair McKenzie. And but contrast that with today, where basically every for the most part, most courses have, for better or worse, I don't know if it's good or bad, has a name attached. If you think about it, your typical skyscraper buildings that you see all over the place, you like that? Nobody knows. I mean, occasionally someone might know that's an I and pay building, but building architects kind of are not necessarily attached to the work the way the golf architects are. And
And
that
plus,
really came about.
go
That
ahead.
came about largely in the '80s, and especially I was working at Landmark. We were doing PJ West and Lake Quinta and those
Right,
kind of places. And you had to have, in order, because courses were being built not to play golf but to sell houses.
right.
So you had to have a name attached in order not to sell necessarily golf but to sell houses.
But to sell
So all of a
houses.
sudden,
Yeah.
you needed Jack Nicklaus, you needed Arnold Palmer, you needed, and so all of a sudden, marketing of the project, the all-encompassing project, more so than just the golf course, and it's kind
Absolutely.
of gone since then.
Yeah, and plus a lot of courses, as you know, actually have the name of the architect on the scorecard, to give them
Yeah,
some
right,
recognition, which I think is cool. Brian, in
right.
order to be a good golf course designer, does that person either has played golf or does play golf in order to make them really a top designer? Can you be a good designer without ever having picked up a golf club in your life?
I don't. The answer would be, well, obvious answer would be no. But on the same time, it's kind of an interesting question, because some of the best players who kind of went in down the path as designers didn't necessarily create great golf courses, and then at the same time, some of the best golf courses that are associated with a certain weren't necessarily great players. In fact, some of the big names that you read about today, they're not, they didn't go out and win amateur events
Right,
and all these big events that put them into the limelight, where someone entrusted them with their skills. They
right.
kind of came through the process, and I mean that's the case. And so you see this kind of alignment with pro names or other players that bring that. But I think you have to your point, I think you have to understand the game. You have to know. You have to be able to hit those shots, but just not on a consistent level like pros do. You don't have.
Per-
You don't have. You should be able to hit that bunker shot out of a deep, bunker,
right.
greenside bunker,
Exactly. No, I agree with that. You don't have to be tour level, but you've got to have some working knowledge. In your experience, Brian, what's the most that you have heard, and you've talked to other people, what's the most common criticism a golf course gets from the average weekend player?
Oh, well, if you go down the survey list, a lot of times it's greens. They complain about greens, and not necessarily green design, but green conditions. A lot of times it's conditions, which is kind of strange to me. And I think most designers look at more of a big picture kind of a thing, but a lot of times it's conditioning more than anything else. But what you'll find, what is if you take a place like Bandon Dunes, and everybody loves Bandon Dunes, and I'm not knocking Bandon Dunes at all. Don't take this the wrong way, but if Bandon Dunes has probably had very little. Any of those courses has very little work done, remodel, adjustments, whatever,
Right.
over the years. Because you and I get together or on a buddies trip, we go to Bandon Dunes, and we're going to have a great time. It doesn't matter if it's raining sideways.
Right.
We're going to have a great time.
Right.
And so resort places tend to endure their problems with design over the years because no one complains about them. If you contrast that with a member club where that member plays every day and they don't like the backside of 14 and they think the bunker on 12 is, the sand's no good. And all you get, because you get repeat play and people so you see a lot more adjustments, remodels, massive remodels from small to massive take place on private clubs, much more so than any kind of resort and daily fee places where they don't have the voice, the power, they don't have
Correct.
they don't
Great
have the
point.
presence to be there on an ongoing basis.
Great point. And somebody will say, well, I'm really close with the president of the board of directors or something like that, and I'm going to take my complaints. But years ago, it was very common when you asked, weekend players, what do you like about a golf course? They go, oh, I don't care. The tees could look like crap. The bunkers could be half empty. As long as the greens are good. Remember, everybody used to say that. I'll forgive them as long as the greens are good. I don't think that's true anymore.
I think that a lot of, if you look down some of the complaints, if you go to a lot of say, let's say kind of modern designs, you'll see a lot of from a self-imposed and also mandated by government, whether it's lack of water or you can only use how much water, how much turf. So the question is, when you have turf restrictions, water restrictions, what do you do in those areas that don't get water? Right. So a lot of times those turn into lost ball areas. So the lost ball complaint has come up on the charts because there are a lot more of those courses. The Parkland golf course that many of us grew up playing in a lot of areas where there's turf everywhere. You hit it, find it, go hit it again. Those are not as prevalent, especially in Southwest type of markets where I remember when we did Valley High, so that's 20 years ago when we did that. I remember at the time, their water bill, at the beginning of the year, they knew they were going to spend $1 million on water.
It was incredible. Yeah.
I can't imagine what it is now. I'm sure it's jumped significantly since.
Yeah.
So if you back that into 50,000 rounds, that's $20 of a round of golf goes just pay the water bill.
Just pay the water bill.
So people ask, why is this so expensive to play golf? It's like there's reasons beyond your control. So, but to get to your point, is what do people complain about? Is that I think the loss. I really am trying harder and harder all the time to try to create the find your ball kind of. Doesn't mean it has to be easy.
Right.
There's lose your ball tough and find your ball tough. And find your ball tough golf course is kind of, for me, that's kind of a goal because
I agree.
I tell you, even good players don't like losing balls.
That's true. That's very, very true. All right, Brian, we're going to step away. We're going to take a short break, and we come back. We're going to have a lot more with our very special guest. As you can see, Mr. Brian Curley, designer extraordinaire. So stay with us. We're back with you right after this.
As golfers, we want instant gratification when it comes to a better golf swing and playing better golf. Impossible, you say? Not anymore. Golf Boost Artificial Intelligence (AI) has developed and patented the most advanced swing analysis technology in golf. Simply, the algorithms detect your body position and then analyze your golf swing using their artificial intelligence technology. The AI captures all the relevant data from your swing video and then presents you a personalized lesson. Golf Boost AI is the ultimate swing analysis and virtual instruction system for golfers of all ages and abilities. This sophisticated software takes into consideration your height and build, playing level, and returns the ideal solution for your swing. Bottom line, Golf Boost AI is an incredibly convenient and cost-effective tool for golfers to improve their swing. Go to golfboost.com and check it out. The app is free to download and try. Visit golfboost.com today.
When it comes to golf, I'm a man of few words, as you'll see. Looking for out-of-this-world technology in your golf ball? Encore Golf. Looking for exceptional performance and durability? Encore Golf. Looking for the best performing ball for the price? Encore Golf. Check them out at Encore Golf, that's ONCORE golf.com. Your scores will thank you. All right, welcome back, everybody, to more of the 19th Hole podcast for golfers. Having a great discussion about one of my favorite subjects, golf course design. And, of course, we have an extraordinary guy with us, Mr. Brian Curley from Schmidt-Curley, headquartered in Scottsdale, Arizona. Brian, you have done extensive work, award-winning work in China. Number one, what was the attraction? And number two, was it because of money, because of lack of work, because, gee, it would be cool to do some courses in China, like Mission Hills and so on and so forth. So tell us about that briefly.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I got to China because they had, actually Mission Hills had a Nicholas golf course in 1995, somewhere in there. They had the World Cup. And so the guy that ran the World Cup came back to us, and I was with Landmark, PJ West, all those places. And they said, hey, China's the next big place. They want to add some more golf courses. Come take a look. So I went over there, and I was just, wow. It's like, this is the next, it's going to take off. The game's going to take off. There's great support. And, if you think about it, it makes sense for Asians. It's a great sport. They love to gamble. I mean, there's a bunch of reasons.
Yeah.
But so what we did is we decided, okay, we're all in on Asia, China in particular. And so you got to remember at the time, too, things were kind of slow here. This is the first financial crisis. Golf was kind of overbuilt because they were building too many of these, residential deals. Golf was overbuilt. The writing was on the wall that there was a cycle. We were on a down cycle in terms of production. I said, we got to go. So we went all in. We didn't dip our toe in the pool. We dove in. But we had 2 offices in China, and we eventually did, 150 courses, 50 courses in China alone.
Wow.
And so it was on one hand, and this is in the big picture, this is a funny statement here, but on one hand, and a lot of people applauded me at the time. They're like, okay, these guys are smart. They went there at the right time. And we kind of had a chokehold, to be honest with you, with a lot of the projects that went on in China. Now, that was a great thing. But then China, when Xi came in, about the same time Obama came in, he started cracking down on corruption. The corruption bone's connected to the land bone, connected to the local government bone, and boom, all of a sudden, they just snuffed out any new golf development. And so I had to go kind of move on. And so now we're working on Vietnam and those other places. So on one hand, it was a great move because we did a lot of work during that period of time. The bad thing about it is that during that period of time, things were slow here. As work started to pick up in the States, we were kind of not in the limelight anymore. And we were playing ball over here on the other side
Right.
of the world. And so, and you got a prospect. Part of getting jobs is you don't just pick up the phone and say, "Oh yeah, we'll start tomorrow." You got to be around. You got to be around the people and the clubs and so not being here kind of was a deterrent in terms of getting a lot of these big profile jobs you see in the States going on now. We because we were kind of out of phase with it because we'd focused so much. So it's kind of a two-edged sword. On one hand, it limited our ability to procure much, some of the better work. But at the time, it was fine. We had plenty of work going on, and still to this day, there's Asia. It's still our bread and butter.
Yeah. Well,
especially Vietnam.
as people know, you've got plenty of super award-winning designs here, right in the United States that I could mention, but, that's pretty obvious. If Jay Monahan were to call you, commissioner of the PGA Tour, and say, Brian, I want you to design a golf course for me. It's got to be fair, obviously, but I need a golf course that you think is going to slow these guys up a little bit. I don't want to see the 62s, the 63s, the 64s, every round. What would you do to kind of slow them up, for lack of a better term? And I don't think it's necessarily length. I think you could build a golf course that's 10,000 yards. These guys would still shoot good scores. But what would you do to, again, slow them up and really make them work a little bit for par?
Well, I think that, I tell you, after watching last week when they played Concession, which looked a little more like a ping pong event more than golf at times, when they, just one side of the green, back and forth. And if you look at those green complexes, I mean, these are the best players in the world who are having tough time keeping balls from 10 yards off the green on the green. If you're trying to create something that makes it difficult to score, if you had a combination of that with tighter landing areas, you certainly, if your goal is to make them shoot higher scores, you can certainly do that, because they'll tear up anything. It's funny. I was asked to do kind of a comment on Harbor Town, and Harbor Town was built in the 70s, and it really has stood the test of time. And it's not a big golf course. It's not long, but what it is tight, and tight with dog legs. And so what it does is it starts to equalize the field.
Right.
You can have a Dustin Johnson can win, but then a Fred Funk kind of person can win too and bun it around. It's a different brand of golf. But like you said, you could put 100 yards in front of these guys, and they're just licking their chops, going at pins. It's an entirely different game. The gap from the good amateur player to the pro player is massive, and then the elite pro within the pro ranks, just the difference from the journeyman to the guy who, those guys at the top. That gap just gets bigger and bigger and bigger all the time, and a lot of it is equipment.
You're totally right, and that's a whole separate other show I'd like to have you back on to talk about. Is there really, and I know you have used tour professionals as co-designers in some of your courses, is there really an advantage of doing that other than, say, for marketing purposes? Because to be honest with you, I think that most of these guys really don't know that much about design. They become, I think, selfish in the sense that, well, I move the ball right to left, or I hit a cut every shot, so they'll design courses like that. Is there an advantage to having a course done by Brian Curley and Dustin Johnson, say?
Yeah, well, what you're seeing that tie to a pro name is occurring less and less. And that's because, well, in the States, a lot of the golf that you're seeing being built, the places that you read about, whether it's Sam's, Stream Song, or most of the new kind of Crenshaw and Doak and Gill, things that they're doing, they're not necessarily tied to a residential element. So, like I mentioned earlier, they're not necessarily selling houses. So what people want is a good quality experience, good
Right.
price, good value, good look,
Right.
all those things. And that pro name thing doesn't have the importance that it had in the past, where they were selling a ticket, for this other product. Now,
Right.
the advantage of it, though, I would say, is that we did a lot of work. We probably did a lot of courses that would have never existed, would have never been built, if it hadn't been that it was tied to a residential element, and if that residential element and the success of that was tied to the fact there was a pro name associated with it that gave absorption. It brought
Oh,
value and
interesting.
absorption to that, which then falls into the value of the golf. So it's gone from that complicated mousetrap apparatus that was from the 80s and 90s, and golf. What you're seeing now is golf is becoming really just kind of more pure golf. So now the emphasis is on the design,
Right.
and the designer, and comparing what they've done in the past. So it's kind of taken a different turn. in that
Would you
respect. So-
would you
so on one
agree
hand,
with?
yeah, on one hand, it brings the work.
Yeah, would you agree with me though, before we take another short break, that especially with a private club, sure, they want to sell the property, they want to build homes, and they're thinking it might be a potential windfall for people to join the club, when in fact that rarely turns out to be the case.
Well, I just think when the dust settles, most people play. I mean, I just joined the club down the street because it's down the street. I mean, it's good and it's fine, but there's a better option half an hour away, but I don't want to drive.
Yeah,
I don't want to go there. So ultimately, like most any business, it comes down to location and value.
yeah,
And just because Nick Faldo's name is associated with the course doesn't make you want to go drive the extra 20 minutes. You're going to go for other reasons.
sure you are.
But what it does is, in the early stages of the project, when you got to remember, when a developer has laid his guts out on the table with a bunch of money, and now he's hoping for it to be a success.
Right.
So anything that can help in the early stages to help it be a success helps in the long term of the project. I'll tell you something. You know what Cypress Point and Augusta and a few other courses have in common?
What?
Is they almost failed when they first opened. A lot
Really?
of courses, a lot of old courses. Yeah, in fact, I saw it one time, like the bankruptcy documents for Augusta. There are a lot of golf courses are ahead of the curve. So anything you can do to get attention, to get people thinking about it, talking about it, helps. And if marketing with a pro name helps, it helps everybody involved. So,
Oh, totally.
So, I think a lot of purists don't like it because they're saying, well, what did Nick Faldo have to do with this hole or that hole? And, there's probably very little. But to be honest, it does, within the ranks of them, some of them do get a little bit more interested than others. To be honest, I've done some courses with pro names. I've never met the pro, and I don't know if they've ever played the golf course.
I love it.
Anybody thinks that George Foreman made the George Foreman grill,
That's
went
right.
down there and engineered it, designed it, and manufactured it is fooled. So
Yeah, that's right.
So marketing is marketing. Right?
Yeah, it is. That's a very good point. All right, stand by, Brian. We're going to again take a short break. We're going to come with you with our game improvement tip of the week by Ann Bazalgett down in Florida. Great teacher, and a couple of commercial spots. So we're going to be back right after this.
Hi there, Adam Bazalgett here from Scratch Golf Academy with another swing improvement tip for the 19th hole podcast for golfers. Let's see what we can sort out today. Let's look at this trail arm, the right hand, or right arm I should say, for the right-handed golfer. What should it be doing? So many people have these ideas. Should it be tucked in? Should it be whatever it should be? Should it be directly under the wrist? You have to find something that's reasonably natural for your body. So let's investigate that a little bit. Choke up on the club all the way down to the bottom of the handle. Club head will be 5-6 inches off the ground. Go ahead and go up there. You want to feel a powerful slot here where your forearm is supported by your elbow. That's power. This isn't power. That's too constricted. Find something that feels, hey, if I had to really throw the club, that's the way I should deliver it. Your personal flexibility makes a difference in this. So try this little drill. Stand up, put your arm directly out from your shoulder at shoulder height, and without arching your back, turn your arm this way. It's shoulder flexibility. I can get a little bit beyond vertical. That's a normal range of flexibility, or should we say a full range. If you're short of that, if you're a little tight, hey, you're probably going to have to let your arm stick out a little bit more. If you're really flexible, you might be one of these whose elbow will be almost directly under the wrist. But the main thing is find something that supports the shaft, is powerful, it won't be tucked in. Find what suits your body with this drill, map it in front of a mirror. You'll have a nice natural top of the backswing position that won't feel complicated.
Dr. Christopher Choi has long been recognized as one of the top concierge doctors in Las Vegas. Dr. Choi and the entire staff at Comprehensive Wellness Center have earned the reputation of unsurpassed medical care and service to all of their patients. In a continuing effort to always advance his practice, Dr. Choi is now offering an additional service to his current patients, as well as new patients. It's the latest, most advanced laser therapy treatment available. It's true, being in great physical health is very important, but so is the mental boost you get when you know you look your best. Whether you want to lose those wrinkles, diminish those acne scars, decrease pigmentation, skin tightening, or permanent fat reduction, this procedure is the answer. You'll have peace of mind knowing there is no actual surgery and no downtime. You just get results with these amazing laser treatments. You might wonder if it hurts? The answer is no. All you feel is a slight tingly feeling during the procedure. You'll love the results. Call Comprehensive Wellness Center at 702-463-8080.
Hey golfers, I've been a golf talk show host for a long time, and I've been playing golf even longer. Being in golf media, I've had the chance to play every ball ever made. I've tried them all. Well, my search is finally over because I found the best ball I have ever played with, and more golfers are finding the same thing. I started playing with the Elixir golf ball made by Encore Golf. Encore Golf has revolutionized both their golf balls, the Elixir or the Avant 55, or the brand new Vero X1, to where the performance of either will simply blow you away. It did me. If you're looking for better performance and durability with your ball, Encore Golf has it. Don't just take my word for it. Check them out at encoregolf.com and you'll become convinced, as I am, the first time you tee it up with Encore. It's the best performing ball for the price. Go to encoregolf.com and see for yourself. Your scores will love you for it. That's ONCORE golf.com. All right, welcome back, everybody, to more of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. I'm Dennis Silvers, having a wonderful conversation with our special guest, Mr. Brian Curley. And Brian, keeping in kind of the same thing that where we left off, what does the term, you see it a lot on various golf courses, the term championship course really mean, or is that just a marketing thing for them to get a few more bucks possibly on their greens fee?
It's one of the mysteries of the world. I don't know. It's been kicked around. There's no qualification. There's no committee that comes in. It's something, it's something you can label yourself, and no one's going to come in and call you out on it. It's kind of like golf course architect. True architects, building architects have to be licensed and go through a lot of rigmarole to get to where they actually have a license to hang on the wall. Right. You can call yourself a golf course architect. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. You just have to have kind of a I think to be accepted in the marketplace, there has to be a certain amount of background and production that you've done along the way. But
you got to have some credibility. Got to have some credibility.
with the internet, everybody's a journalist now. I guess you can post a story and you're a journalist, whereas journalism used to be, kind of cubbyholed into something. Everybody's a journalist now. So
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just one of
that's
those
a good
terms that's
point.
been thrown around forever.
Yeah, no, I hear you. We talked about this the other day about redos. What are you usually hired for when it comes to redoing a golf course, and who really makes that decision as far as, hey, Brian, I think we need the tees redone, we need some more bunkers over here, this and that and the other. How much input do you have as an architect when it comes to redos?
I'll tell you what, they are all, most new constructs are pretty, there's kind of a game plan that you go through, a chronology, a timeline, you know, you put one thing in front of the other. Remodels are, they're a strange beast. You get, it could be driven by a single owner. It could be driven by committees. The list of things that they want to do are all over the map. But once they kind of get out of, getting back to your earlier question, once you kind of get out of that concerns about conditions, which go to the superintendent, go to the GM and all that, inevitably the superintendent says, well, I can only work with the tools I have. I have an antiquated irrigation system. I have this, I have that. These all need fixing. And then they say, well, if we're going to get a new irrigation system, why don't we go ahead and fix the 14th hole? And let's do these other. Why would we go put irrigation on something we don't like anyway? So a lot of times it's that kickoff of and irrigation is not a cheap deal nowadays. I mean, you can spend $1 million, have $2 million.
Yeah.
And so if we're going to spend all that kind of money, we might as well look at fixing some things, especially when the course has a downtime and blah, blah, blah. So a lot of times it's driven by another decision, and someone smart, they say, wait a second, if we're going to do that, why would we paint the same wall we don't like? Let's put a window in, So it triggers a lot of discussion.
Right. I was going to say, and that brought me to my next question. Your timing is perfect. Say 3 decades ago. Today, there are so many new various strains of grass. There are different types of sand for bunkers. Irrigation has come a long way. How much money has that added, Brian, to doing a golf course today as opposed to 2-3 decades ago? If you could put a number on it.
I think the thing that it's always been the case, the thing that drives costs from here to here is not so much the components, but the site. When you're dealing with, some gives you abandoned dunes, someone gives you sand hills, you can go build a fantastic golf course, a nicely rolling sand-based native grass, but, it doesn't cost a lot to go build something. When someone gives you the side of a rock hill, before you even talk about putting in irrigation and greens and turf and bunker, you got to manhandle that thing into something that resembles golf terrain. And that's always been the case, and that's still the case today. And even more so, especially, we deal a lot in Asia, where it's a lot of the times the properties you get are not that good, because the good properties they've set aside for food production or whatever else he needs. And so it's not too often you get really, really good sites. And that, I think that, and that's why you see, if you look at your typical top 100, list, so many of those courses are courses from the past where they went and they didn't say, oh, we want to go build a golf course. I want it right here. Let's turn this land into something. Let's go find the best site for a golf course. Yeah. And the best site for the golf course will always persevere as a great golf course.
Yeah.
That's why you see so many courses from 100 years ago or whatever. They stand alone because they were great sites to begin with.
What kind of personal mark do you put on a golf course, or does Lee put on a golf course, as far as you get a planks in a bunker, or you can have par threes shaped a certain way or anything? Does Schmidt-Curley have a certain distinct mark they like to leave on a golf course?
No, I think our calling card is to not have a stamp, not have something recognizable. I think that's one thing that a lot of architects. I worked a lot with Pete Dye, And
Right.
you know, Pete told me many times he wished he'd have never put a railroad tie on a golf course, because every owner that he encountered said, I want that look. I want railroad ties. And he painted himself into that corner, which he broke away in, certainly in things to come. I worked on with him on Kiowa and other places. But so I don't think that we try. We certainly, I don't know. I think if you looked at our website and you looked at the variety of
Totally.
looks,
Yeah.
I think that what we try to really bring is don't bring anything, but really listen. You listen to what the owner wants, and you listen what the land has to offer, and then you kind of come up with ideas from there. And the good news now, and this kind of gets back to that earlier point about when I was younger, how the only book was a World Atlas of Golf. You know, with the internet now, you can see every
Any
golf
course,
course
right?
across the world. Image studies. I'm like putting together an image study of what could be, to put in front of a developer, an owner, a committee, or whatever. You know, it used to be you waved your hands around and talked about, oh, we can do this, and everybody's looking at you like, why are you waving your hands? Now you just go boom, 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 boom. You throw out 100 images out on the table, and you say, hey, what do you like? What do you not like?
Right.
Let's talk pros and cons. And so it's a different that infant stage of the project is really kind of taken on new life.
Yeah.
For the
yeah.
better.
For the better. I totally agree with that. I've got 2 more commercials to get in. Brian, hang with me, and then we'll come back and finish up the show. So stay with us. Real short break. We're back right after this.
One of the buzzwords happening in golf is the word lag. You hear it all the time, but what is it, and how do I get it? Lag simply is the loading of the club to help produce tons of power in your golf swing. Up until now, getting lag into your swing has been very hard. Introducing the Lag Shot, a brand new proven training aid being praised by some of the leading PGA Tour instructors across the globe. This practice aid trains your hands, arms and body how to make a powerful, efficient golf swing with an amazing amount of lag. Lag Shot is a 7-iron length club with the same loft and lie with a whippy, flexible blue shaft and a beautiful jet black club head. After you master the Lag Shot, your game will change forever with a stress-free swing, more power and more distance with lower scores every time you play. Go to lagshotgolf.com and you'll see why this truly is becoming the #1 training aid in golf. Visit lagshotgolf.com.
Innovation begins at a single point. Elements, each with their unique character. Fire-forged steel creates unprecedented control. Chemistry delivers a touch so soft, combined to create a level of performance previously unimagined. Like magic, the Elixir, the new tour ball from Encore.
All right, welcome back. We're heading down number 18, getting ready to finish our round, having a good discussion with Brian Curley. Brian, I've got just a couple questions for you. How much golf does Lee play?
Okay, we talked about that. So Schmidt-Curley, we formed whatever, 97. So about 4 years ago now, about 4 or 5 years ago, Lee backed out. Lee's retired. He's in Florida.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So,
excuse me.
Yeah. He it just kind of happened. It kind of happened right when China hit the wall and decided we're not doing any more golf courses.
Wow.
So timing wise, and so I had to go prospect. I spent like the next 3 years just trying to find work because things don't happen overnight in the golf business.
I
but
know.
yeah, Lee's in Naples, and
Good for
I
him.
think he's doing little stuff around there. But we've downsized. It's comfortable. I work out of a studio out of the house here, and I still travel and do kind of the same things you used to do, but just kind of on a lesser scale because the golf business there's been a serious attrition in the golf design business.
Yeah.
And then and it seems like every time something happens, and now you have COVID. Boom, we have all the stuff ready to go, and then COVID hits, and I can't even get into you know, I've got projects going in Vietnam, Cambodia that I can't even go to. So,
Yeah, but I didn't know that. Please, when you talk to them, I'm sure you still stay in touch a lot.
Sure.
Give them my best. Tough question for you. You guys have done over 150 golf courses worldwide. Do you have a favorite or a top three?
Oh, you know, I think that there's the question could be worded like, what's your favorite kind of the end result given what you had to work with, right? And then the favorite course, because a lot of times your favorite course probably is likely to be with what was a nice site. Like I did the Wilderness Club with Nick Faldo up in Montana, and it's beautiful and it's wonderful, and it was a great sand-based site in the mountains, and you know that's probably one of the better domestic things. But then you know
Right.
at the same time, yeah, we did a 20-something courses around the Palm Springs area, and you know I did a club there called the Plantation, which was awesome.
Awesome.
You know, but as far
Awesome.
as like transforming things, you know, like the Mission Hills work, you know, I think people can't fathom how transformative those sites, because in China, you know, they don't give you good property for the most part to go put. You get the side of a mountain. So the fact that we were able to take horrible golf, not you couldn't even walk the land. You know, I mean, it was just straight up and down, and turn that into world class golf. To me, there's an accomplishment aspect to the question too. So, and I think that what you see today is you'll see a lot of courses that you read in magazines, and you know they look great and they were fairly easy jobs. I'm not diminishing anybody's talents here, but then there are a lot of architects have to deal with, and I think that we're at the top of the list of those who transform. You know, there's so much talk about minimalism and but you got to remember, not every property they give you is Bandon Dunes,
Correct.
or is Stream Song. You know, sometimes they give you a horrible site that you got to make something with. And to me, that's where you really separate the talents. That's when being an architect as opposed to a builder.
Oh, I agree.
Know, and I think those days probably will start to come back, because you're going to see more well-located but difficult properties, where if someone says, "Hey, we'd like to have a golf community here," and everybody looks straight up the slope and
They
says,
go, really? Yeah.
"Well, yeah, okay,
No.
this is take a little bit of effort."
That's great. Last question. When are you coming to Vegas so we can tee it up?
Yeah, I'm going to take you up on that soon. I want to do it soon. I want to do it.
Okay. Remember, we've got a saying here: bring cash, Brian, because fast pay makes fast friends. You know that.
That's right. That's right. I've been doing that lately. Yeah. No, I want to. You know, it's been a while. Like I want to go up and play. Like I said, Valley High. I've played there for
A wonderful
ever.
golf course. Wonderful golf course.
Yeah, it's you know, it's kind of, I've used Valley High as an example because of the warm up area. You know, we only had like 140 acres to work with. I think it was.
Yeah.
And so we did that little warm up area, that Polynesian theme kind of thing we did in the net.
Very cool.
And you know, I'm trying to talk more because you know, a lot of times now you don't have the land to pull off what you're trying to pull off. And so, but I do think with screen technology and TrackMan and all that kind of stuff, you know, it's not going to go practice. Doesn't work for a member club, but for a resort play where you just want to get big muscle warm ups,
Right.
You know, I think it's fine. And you know, as long as you have a little short game area as well. So that's a whole nother. That's an
Whole
hour
other
discussion
thing.
to talk
Well,
about,
you know, you probably
short game area,
know Reflection Bay did the same thing. They sold off the 90 acres for their driving range or whatever to a home developer. Now they've got the cages down there, and it works just fine. Just fine.
And you're going to see that happening more and more.
More interesting. Brian, thank you so much for your time on the show. Great information as always. I look forward to hopefully you getting in touch and coming out here. And I wish you nothing but the best, my friend. And we're going to have you back sooner than later.
Okay. Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you, Brian. All right, Brian Curley, great guy. Very good player, too, by the way. So I hope he does come out. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the 19th Hole podcast for golfers. I've been your host, Dennis Silvers, and we'll see you right back here, same place, same time next week. Get out and play some golf if you could, if the weather's good in your part of the country, and we're going to see you soon. So long, everybody.